for you. January 1, 2020. By January 1, 2020, we will know how to end breast cancer. Now, that's not just a date. That's a serious deadline backed by a strategic plan of action we call Breast Cancer Deadline 2020. Now, you may be wondering, what motivates an organization to set a deadline to end breast cancer? Well, we started looking over the past couple of decades and we said, with the billions of dollars invested in breast cancer, what do we really have to show for it? Well, this is what we have. We have an incredibly lucrative industry that employs a ton of people. I'm one of them. We have a system of research that, frankly, is dysfunctional and discourages bold, new, innovative ideas in favor of safe research with predictable results. And we have an entire month devoted to breast cancer awareness, during which it seems everything turns pink. From the sea of commercial products that line our shelves to the national monuments that get lit up in this glory of pink. And even our professional football players show up on game day wearing pink helmets and pink jerseys and pink cleats. And as well-meaning as all of this has led to a public that believes, understandably, that we've made significant progress in breast cancer. You guys, the truth is we have not. The truth is we have a system and an infrastructure and a focus in breast cancer that has not led to significant progress in two key areas: knowing how to prevent breast cancer and knowing how to stop deaths from this disease. You guys, more of the same is not going to change these facts. So here's what will change these facts: innovation. Now, I don't mean just in the area of research, which is where my head goes when I start thinking about innovation. What I'm saying is the business of breast cancer has to change. That's where the real innovation has to take place. What if we were to take an entirely different approach to breast cancer? What if we were to approach breast cancer with the idea of putting those of us in the business of breast cancer out of business? What if we were to shift our resources and our knowledge and our focus about breast cancer toward knowing how to end breast cancer? Well, that would be pretty innovative, wouldn't you say? Well, this is exactly what we're doing with Breast Cancer Deadline 2020. We are working toward knowing how to stop breast cancer. We are working toward knowing how to prevent this disease and how to stop deaths from this disease. And we're doing it by a date certain, January 1, 2020. We're challenging convention, and we're inviting everyone in the business of breast cancer to work collaboratively toward a transformational idea: the end of breast cancer by the end of the decade. And we're changing the conversation in public forums just like this one, because you guys, if we don't move away from this, all the conversations we have about awareness and more screening and more mammograms and more pinking of our society, we're never going to achieve the goals of Breast Cancer Deadline 2020, which was designed solely to save lives. We have to challenge this culture of business as usual, because business as usual is not innovative. Now, when we set this deadline, it was September 2010, and as you can imagine, we had a lot of pushback. Some folks said to us, yikes, that's pretty radical. To set a deadline to end breast cancer is pretty radical. We need something radical. Some folks said to us, science doesn't respond to deadlines. You cannot put a deadline on science. Look, Breast Cancer Deadline 2020 is a calculated risk. It's reaching for what seems impossible. And isn't that what science is all about? And some said, what if you fail? We have already failed. Now, most of us in this room know someone who's been affected by breast cancer. Maybe it's your mother, your daughter, your sister, your aunt. Maybe it's your father, your uncle, your brother, because men get breast cancer too. Maybe it's the person sitting next to you right now. Maybe it's you. For me, it was my grandmother. She died in 1992. She was 72 years old. Now, her generation didn't talk about breast cancer. They barely talked about cancer, and they certainly didn't talk about their breasts. So I don't know a whole lot about her breast cancer. But what I can tell you is she got a diagnosis, she had surgery, and then she had treatment. And though we celebrated the fact that she completed her treatment, and for us that meant she was cancer-free, 2 years later her breast cancer metastasized. That means that it spread to another part of her body. And in her case, it was her bones. And so when the doctors called her up and said, Mrs. Zelsman, your cancer is back, you're going to have to go back to treatment, she said, no, I'm not doing that. It's too painful. And she knew it wasn't going to change her outcome. She knew she was going to die as a result of her breast cancer. This year, it's estimated 425,000 women globally will die of breast cancer. And each day, 108 women in this country alone will die from breast cancer. Now, these facts tell me something very important. These facts say that we are far from success, despite the years of awareness campaigns, the billions of dollars invested in breast cancer, the millions of words published on this disease, and the thousands of careers launched in the name of fighting breast cancer. And when you work in the business of breast cancer like I do, you hear lots of stories of women, courageous women and men who fight this disease. Some of them lose the fight. You guys, isn't it time we stop losing the people we love to breast cancer? In 1971, President Nixon declared a war on cancer. So much has changed since 1971. Our understanding of the biology, our insights into the genetics of breast cancer, and our knowledge of the origins of this disease have all increased. And new disciplines have shed light on the process of innovation, and our ability to gather and synthesize, analyze information is well beyond anything ever conceivable 40 years ago. You guys, it's time we harness everything we know about innovation and all we have learned through the thousands and billions of dollars invested in breast cancer, so that by the end of this decade, we can really know how to end this disease. It's time to channel the vast amounts of money for breast cancer away from siloed business enterprises to deeper, more innovative collaborations focused solely on the goal of knowing how to end breast cancer. Now, January 1, 2020 is really not that far away. And you may be thinking to yourself, oh my God, holy cow, that's such an impossible goal, an impossible deadline. So was putting a man on the moon. So was curing polio. But you know, we did this, and we did it within 10 years. We achieved those impossible dreams. And we did it because somebody had the courage to set a deadline. And somebody had the courage to make it a national priority. Now, I don't know if by the end of this decade we'll actually achieve this deadline, but isn't it time we tried? Thank you.